So since the show is called Classical Julie, what do you consider some of your classical career moments or epic career moments?
Well, one of them is behind you, and that's doing Gypsy on Broadway with Bernadette Peters, doing an iconic, Gotta Have a Gimmick, and stopping the show every night, and working with Sam Mendes, who's now like the most incredible director from Skyfall. He probably is so rich now he doesn't have to get out of bed. So that was a really iconic moment. My very first show that I did with Charles Busch was Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, and even though we were doing that in like a crack den called the Limbo Lounge on, really like in Alphabet City, even though we didn't do it for the money or the fame, certainly not, we knew we were onto something, and I think in that sense it was very classical because we were so excited to all be together, and we formed this theater company, and it was iconic in our own minds kind of thing. And then when it actually did become an iconic moment in off-Broadway, because it was so successful off-Broadway, which we never expected, believe me, we never expected. That really was the start. And in a sense, every time I start a brand new project with Charles Busch, I always feel that it's very important and fabulous and classical in its own way because we like working together so much. So
we have such a history of working together. We've done so many shows together.
So many shows. The Lady in Question and Red Scare on Sunset and
Divine Sister.
Divine Sister recently. You Should Be So Lucky. So it's just, and not many people can actually say, oh yes, I have a 30-year relationship with the playwright and he's writing for me. I mean, that's kind of amazing. So I feel very Gertrude Lawrence, in that respect. So yeah, I would say, Gypsy and Vampire Lesbians. Red Scare on Sunset was a very classical kind of moment for me because I received a lot of great reviews and I actually got a Drama Desk nomination and Outer Critics. It was a very important step for me as an actress to be recognized in that way. I lost to Eileen Atkins. Can you imagine?
No.
Who's she?
I know.
Oh, Eileen Atkins. But it was great. So that was a big moment too. Every show I do, I love. I'm always in love with the show that I'm doing that moment. But Gypsy was a big turning point for me because it was an iconic musical with an iconic star, with this amazing director, doing one of the greatest numbers in the musical theater canon. And I had so much fun. And also it changed the course of my career because I actually started getting a lot more Broadway shows after that. So Gypsy was a big turning point.
That's terrific.
Yeah, yeah.
Any moments in television?
Well, Bitsy Von Muffling from Sex and the City. I literally went to Istanbul, Turkey, and I was recognized as Bitsy Von Muffling. I mean, that shows the power of Sex and the City. So that was just, gobsmacking. Ashley Morris, who's a friend of mine, and she's a comedian in L.A., it's a wonderful actress, too. She did Die, Mommy, Die off-Broadway with Charles. She and I have remained very close, and we played mother and daughter on the Electric Company.
Oh, wow.
The new one? On the new one. And I played her mother, Antigone Carruthers, and we actually did do a musical number, Francine. And you should YouTube that.
Oh, I will.
I did a few episodes as Antigone, but that particular one is called Goodnight Moon.
Okay.
And it's actually called Goodnight Robot, I believe. Goodnight Robot. It is so good. And we're recognized a lot.
Oh, wow.
As, mother and daughter, Francine and Antigone Carruthers. And it's a really great episode. So
I bet that was a lot of fun. She's great. I've seen her do her stand-up, and I saw her in Die, Mommy, Die. And
she's
the two of you together, I mean, that's comic genius right there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The Francine. Oh, you got to see us. I mean, we had to do moves and everything. We were dancing. in Ditmas Park at like 6 in the morning. I'm telling you, you haven't lived until you've seen that. So that was great. And yeah, I mean, the class was fantastic. That's how I got my kitchen, from the class. And I actually was just showing someone a picture of me and Jesse Tyler Ferguson. And it certainly launched him. And yeah, it was just great. So I'm very pleased.
That's great. Well, we're very lucky that you've had so many great moments to enjoy.
Yes, thank you.
And if you could build your own classic New York, what would you put in it?
That's a really good question. Well, it would have to be bagels. I guess H&H salt bagels would be part of the equation. Maybe one Starbucks. We don't have that many. One Dwayne Reed. But it has to have the great iconic buildings like the Empire State and Chrysler. And, of course, the Theater District. And, the former Crack Den, which was the Limbo Lounge, which is now like a garage. But, I just think hordes of gay people, really, who worship me.
Right, of course.
That's classical New York, Julie Halston.
Yes, well, any gay person that doesn't worship you, that's a big problem.
That's a big problem for the gay community.
Right, they would get their card revoked. In an instant, if you don't worship Julie Halston and you're gay, goodbye. You're not gay. Exactly.
You're not gay.
Exactly.
How about that? So that things like that, and my husband, of course, and Howard Stern.
Oh.
Yes, we have to have Howard
great.
Stern. So Fifth Avenue. So I'm not quite convinced of the West 30s yet.
Okay.
I'm not totally convinced of it. It's still in development.
Yes,
clearly.
it is. Yes.
But I don't know. I'm not totally convinced of all of Queens yet.
Okay.
I was born in Queens, but I'm not totally convinced of all of Queens yet. But yes, the rest of it can all stay.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Would you include anything from Long Island?
Well, yes, we'd have to have Comac. We just would have to because I was born there. Actually, Long Island, I'm falling rather in love with Long Island again. I think as I get older, of course, you do sort of go back to your roots. And remember, Little Edie was from Long Island. She lived on Long Island. So I think all of Long Island actually has to stay. I'm very concerned, speaking like Little Edie, I'm concerned with the erosion of Long Island because, that Montauk area, East Hampton, all the storms, very bad.
Oh, yes.
So I'm a little concerned about that. I would like to build up Long Island a little more. So we have to be careful.
We do. We do. Well, I would love it if you would start building it up. You should create like the Julie Halston restoration project.
Maybe I'll have to do that.
Yes.
I'll have to do that.
I think you should do that. Bette Midler has the city. You should have Long Island.
I like it. All right, honey.
If you could remake any TV show, movie, and theater piece with you as the star, what would you want to be in?
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's really something. Well, I do love those really bad made-for-TV movies, like Ice Castles. Do you know those 80s made-for-TV movies? I would love to remake all of them.
Okay.
All the really bad ones. The worse, the better. And, I'll play the mothers in all of them. The ones who say things like, well, how will I know that I can trust you? Those kind of things?
Yes,
Where they have a troubled daughter, or, that kind of thing, or, or the husbands that's cheating on them, and, they just, look at something, and they're like, and then they look at the camera, and then fade away, you know what I mean? It's all those bad 80s made-for-TV movies. I would remake all of them. Mama Rose, of course, is the most amazing, but, the singing would be very difficult. But if they did just the script of Mama Rose, I would love to do that.
Well, you should create just the script of Mama Rose. Yeah.
I might have to do that.
That could be a piece in your next one-woman show.
That could be a piece in my next one-woman show. And, you know, one of the things I talk about is in classical Julia's, you know, Medea. As I say in my show, I do not have my own children, but I know what it's like to want to kill them. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I can identify.
I don't know why they didn't pick you then. Hello?
There you go.
Yeah. Tony Award nomination, that's what it would be.
It would
That
be.
would
It would
be.
be amazing.
Yes.
Forget Fiona.
That's right.
Shaw,
Whoever
whatever,
she is,
all of them,
right.
whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. Come to
Exactly.
Coleman.
Exactly.
Yeah.